Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai of Carbondale, the official coaches show of Saluki Athletics. Now, here is the voice of the Salukis, Luke Martin.
Whether you're craving a classic pizza or planning a special event, Pagliai's Pizza is here to provide an unforgettable dining experience. Come and taste why we've been a beloved part of Southern Illinois pizza scene for generations.
There you go. Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by our friends at Pagliai of Carbondale. Man, Coach Hill, you're giving away the secrets. You're making
I didn't
what
even
I
have
do
practice, though. I was a little nervous.
You're making everything that we do seem very easy now. You know, that's always tough. Coach, good to see you here on the bye week. Good to have you here with us, as always, each and every week here on Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai of Carbondale. Thought the energy level today at practice, Coach, for obviously a bye week practice, and gives you a chance really for a lot of your young guys to get some really good team reps and a lot of good reps today in practice this morning.
I mean, that's the challenge. I mean, there's obviously the bye week comes and you want to rest your team, not just physically but mentally as well. And they have to trust when it's time to practice, it's time to practice, and we've got things that we have to work on and get better. And then giving them some time to rest and get away from here and just get away from the building a little bit to refresh and know that we have 5 weeks to go and that we got to push when we're here. But utilizing this in a variety of ways, just physically, mentally, and then getting better, having some time to meet with the players one-on-one. That you do throughout the year, but I'll meet with the entire team one-on-one, similar to you do after the season, but really just checking in on them a little more time to talk about, life and how things are going academically, but just really just giving them some time to just sit down and talk for me to meet with all of them. And so there's a lot of things to get done in the bye week, and excited about that. Today was a good practice. I look forward to these practices, some of the opportunities for some of these guys that are continuing to grow throughout the year, the young guys. And as you saw, I mean, we probably went about 25 more plays than we had scripted today, just off the script, just because, and I cut out, the coaches didn't even know we were going to do that, cut out some of the practice plan, just to let them keep going, because that, honestly, when you get to this time of year, that's where you find out if there's growth or not, when you're playing 11-on-11 football. I mean, we can do individual drills and work on the technique, but at some point they just got to go play and see where that growth has been. And a lot of them, have been showing a lot of strides. And I've also told them, I mean, we saw, Lucas on the D-line get an opportunity. He got 6 plays. He really had 1 impact play. And it's because he's been showing up every week in practice and, talking with Coach James. I know the week before we had dressed him. He was going to try to get him in, and I'm like, this week, put him in. If it's third down pass, let's get him in. And he made a couple impacts. He played a couple normal down and distance plays. And I told the rest of the team, I mean, we're going to find a way to get you on the field. Whether you're a true freshman, you can play in 4 games and it's a free season. So if you're making plays, and I think you get a lot more out of them during the week of practice when they know there could be a carrot at the end, like maybe it's a special team rep. But if you're the special teams player of the week, then we're going to find a way to get you on the field.
When you look at those young guys, Coach Hill, and look the way your season has gone in terms of the injury bug at certain spots, yes, some younger guys have, of course, been thrust into those positions. But for a guy like Lucas, for other guys that are going through practice, what do you communicate throughout the year to guys like that to say, hey, this is what we want to see from you? And then ultimately when you keep seeing it, there's going to be a time, there's going to be a week where they get that opportunity like Lucas had over the weekend and performed well. I mean, had a huge play in the game.
Yeah, that you've got to show them that. You got to give them those opportunities, and then you got to show them that their work's not going unnoticed, that you're getting better. And maybe you're a guy that doesn't get to play as a true freshman, but there's got to be signs of growth throughout the year. You can't get caught, and it's easy to do. And when you have these individual meetings, like, redshirting is tough sometimes. Like you're not playing in the games, and you go through and you might be homesick, and academically it starts to wear on you your fall sport. So your first semester is academics, and now we got midterms and then finals around the corner, and all that starts to bog down on you. So, but you can't waste like that 8 weeks, of your growth, whether it's in the weight room or it's at practice. And so just continue to push everybody on our team to get better. And a lot of guys on our team have been products of that, of using their red shirt, or maybe it's year 2 and you're still showing growth. And I mean, you see that really up front, D-line wise, there for a couple series. You got Lucas and Jamon. Jamon's a redshirt freshman. Lucas is a true freshman, and having some success. Jamon got a sack and a tackle for a loss. He's a redshirt freshman. Lucas got home and knocked the ball loose. So those young guys are getting better.
You talk about the energy, the enthusiasm that your team has had, and it's been one of those areas that we've touched on since fall camp, that your group has really enjoyed being around each other. And when you go through and don't have the success that you've won early on in this season, you could think maybe the energy level would dip. But I'll ask it to you, Coach Hill. I mean, not just in practice today, but you're around these guys each and every day. Like, what's the feeling you get with your team each and every day in terms of the energy level, the enthusiasm level, but also the workmanlike mentality to still come back that next day, regardless of the result, to put in the work that you guys really strive for each and every week?
Yeah, it's not always perfect. I think that's a challenge to, the coaching staff and players alike, everybody in the building. Like, we'd be lying if it's just like, every day everybody comes in and they're just – but that's one of those non-negotiables, like you have to. Some days, that's the difference of somebody being great at what they do. Like on the days that you don't feel like it, you still have to show up, and that's your job. And so not wasting any days, and keeping that excitement to play. You've lost 3 games in a row after you won 2 games in a row. You've lost to 3 really good teams, and so do you still have the same excitement to say, let's go win 3 in a row again? And that opportunity is there for us. And so we have to show up with the same excitement. We don't play a game this weekend, but Indiana State has to be, the biggest game on your schedule. And the excitement to go play and the hunger to get better. And we saw that last week as far as the approach and the way that you need to play the game. And now we just have to keep that going.
It's one of the areas, and we've really hit that this year with your team too, where you want to be that group that has earned the number next to your name when you were ranked. And one of the statements you made to me, Coach Hills, we were talking about, hey, we believe we're that type of team too. We want to start knocking off those teams. My point is, when you look at the 5 losses you've had this year, combined record of those teams, 27-6, which of course includes an undefeated Big 12 team in BYU that you saw to start off the year, and how those FCS losses, 3 of them are unbeaten in FCS competition this year with SEMO, South Dakota, and North Dakota State. Again, it's not to press anything. You guys have high expectations too, and you want to start flipping these results when you get to the back end of the schedule. But you've gone up against some darn good football teams so far this year, which is where you hope that you remind that to your guys as you go throughout the year. Look, we're not playing podunk teams here. You're playing elite level competition, and you've had to throw in some young guys where these reps are going to really be beneficial for them.
Yeah, and I think what we've had to do is in the midst of losing a lot of guys, losing your starting quarterback and then the backup quarterback we've felt really good about. And seeing them go the way that they go down, surgeries and finding your way, and losing your captains on defense, and then it's playing that schedule. But like I've told them, it's like in boxing, you've taken some body blows, but they haven't knocked you out yet, and you've went back to the corner and you've got back in the ring, and nobody's knocked you out yet, and so. You've got to be able to, in these late rounds, find that strength to just keep going, and sometimes you can get some momentum and start landing some blows yourself and see where it goes.
Going back to the North Dakota State game and looking at how Jake played, one of the plays that stood out to me, which I'm sure we talked about in your office yesterday, was when he ran it and he lowered his shoulder. He took a hit, but he also delivered a bit of a blow too, where it just resonated with your whole team. And you could see the sideline, you could see everybody go, all right, like Jake's got something to him. Now, they knew that prior to him making a play like that. But how important is it for Jake to really showcase that right now, and where it just totally solidified, I believe, the belief that your football team has had in a guy like Jake Curry stepping into that role?
Yeah, I think they've seen that. It's exciting to on Saturdays go and see it, and the hunger that he has, the way that he plays the game is infectious, and so the guys have rallied behind him. I think they were just excited for him, and shows the toughness that he has, the character that he has, in which he wants to play the position. So yeah, and he'll get better from now, settling in, knowing that he's the starter, bye week, getting all these reps, and even, play better, execute in certain moments better. I text him sitting there watching the games, and he reminds me so much of Nick, that he's hard on himself first. You text him like, hey, I was proud of you, the way that you competed today, the way that you've handled the week. And his response back is, I promise you I'm going to clean up some of these errors that I've had, and they're not going to happen again. It doesn't even say, thanks, coach, or anything. It's just like, it's immediate, like, what I got to do to get better.
You look through the team, there's so many great examples, and we didn't touch up on it a ton last week, but now Michael Lindauer, his waiver approved. He was back in practice this week going through the acclimation period. But I think there's multiple sides of this thing too, Coach Hill, where Michael doesn't have to say yes, to go through this. I mean, he moved on, kind of a GA, and he's been a great GA for you and your staff this year on the defensive side of the ball. Can you really go into, one, what it means for Michael Lindauer to really be selfless in this situation, to help the team in an emergency situation, and to really put his coaching cap down and to be willing to go grab a helmet again and suit up again for you guys here this fall?
No, it says a lot about him. When we were talking about it, really after DJ got hurt, he knew, but probably in everybody's mind, like, well, that's not going to happen. Like, we've kind of thought about this before, like, if it would be one of those seasons that you got to get down to 3 or 4 quarterbacks, which has happened throughout college football and around the country. Nobody's feeling sorry for you. So this is a realistic thing, especially when ET got hurt in training camp. Okay, we've got 3, and then 1 gets hurt in the season. Now it's like, Mike, this is, we still got a long season to go. We got 10 games here. So if that happens, and he was always like, yeah, we're ready to do it. And then, I think it says a lot about his character of just whatever the team needs right now. I'll go suit up and play. And yeah, he doesn't have to do that. There would be a lot of people be like, man, I already gave that up. I haven't been training. I haven't been lifting like that. I'm not going out there to do it. I already said I've kind of retired. It'd be like talking a guy into unretiring. Some of them just stay retired, even though they can still play. And so for Mike to be able to do that, it's given us a boost. It's been fun to see him out there. He had a good practice today. And he won't just be an extra body. We'll utilize his strengths, and he'll help this team out.
How can, in his situation of being around you guys so much as coaches, like in your staff meetings, et cetera, that a player obviously doesn't go through during the course of your year? I mean, you're very open with your players anyways. It's not like there's a lot of hidden stuff that goes on in your staff meetings. It's not what I'm implying. But how can the GA route here through the start of this year for Michael – Grant, I know he wasn't practicing each and every day. He's been your scout team quarterback for a while. It can help him, where maybe now you can see a huge difference of when you saw Michael in the spring of still kind of finishing out his playing career to now he's kind of seen both sides of it. Maybe that can help him a little bit now getting reacclimated.
Well, yeah, I hope that he's learned a lot from being in every staff meeting, and you see it from a different lens, you see it from a different perspective, and then to get to go back into playing, like, a lot of people don't have that experience ever. And so, yeah, you're better for that. And he's like we wouldn't have hired him as a GA if we didn't think he could be a coach and respected like that and hold himself to have that type of character, and the team respect him and see him in that light. That's why I was like, he'd be an outstanding GA. And so for now to have him, suited up, being down in the locker room every day, he's back with a locker, you feel pretty good as far as trusting that, the leadership. Mike's always had outstanding leadership. And so, yeah, that's going to be a boost. We've lost a lot of our leaders, captains, and to injury. So being able to add a guy like this here down the stretch will be big.
For fans just wondering what the rest of your week looks like, you, of course, had a practice today. I know you'll be back out there Wednesday, Thursday. Just kind of describe the structure of the rest of your bye week before we get to next week and back into a normal game week mode.
Yeah, so we come in on Sundays after the game, and they came in, and it was a little shorter than normal. We just watched film. We didn't go out to the field. And then Mondays are their normal day off, and they got Monday off. The coaches have been in really Sunday and Monday, and you start to get ahead on the game plan for your next opponent. Watching practice, we practice in the morning, so normal practice and meeting times Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The coaches can get out of the office a little sooner and spend some time with their families, and which is good for them too. It's a long haul for the coaches too. So mentally, preparing just like the players to go another 5 weeks, and then the players will get Friday and Saturday off, and then they'll be back at 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, and will really be a full practice and preparation for Indiana State.
Coach, not to brag on you, but, with all the work that you put in physically and seeing all the workouts you do, I have a feeling like whatever sport you would get inserted in, you'd be really good at. We got Coach Rhodes coming up next year for baseball, like fall ball game this weekend. Like, when's the last time Coach Hill took some hacks? Like,
I would like to. I always say that we're going to do that. I mean, yeah, he just needs to ask me to come out there and get some swings in. I feel like I'd still, if I got 25 pitches, I hope I take one of them out. If not, then I got to get back in the weight room or something. But, yeah, I love all sports, man. I love baseball growing up, obviously basketball.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I like seeing it. Every time I run and I'll go up that hill, see them down there in the cages, music playing. Baseball's got a different pace to it.
No doubt. It's definitely got some different pace to it, and they got their first fall game this weekend, another one the following weekend, and it seems like you got a little bit of a break there for them, but then their season comes on really quickly come January and February where they get started. Coach, appreciate the time hopping in here on the bye week, and we'll catch up with you next week to preview the Sycamores.
Appreciate it.
Once again, that was head coach Nick Hill. We'll take a break here on the show. When we come back, we're going to be joined by head coach Lance Rhodes of Saluki Baseball. This is Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai of Carbondale.
As the Salukis will be taking on the Indiana State Sycamores, as the winner gets a chance to continue to move on the winner's side of the bracket. Allgaier rips it right, and it goes to Josue Urdaneta. It will get a run in. Rounding third, hard was touching. He's got to dive back in quickly, but he's there safely. They have been throwing punches left and right all night long. The Dogs have another haymaker and loaded in the air to left. At the wall, and it's gone! Home run! Anthony Braun dances to the dugout. Bailey in the air, left center field. It's back near the warning track, back near the wall. Gets it to the wall. 1 run in, 2 runs are in, 3 runs are in. Deep grab the 1-2 pitch. Swinging a miss, strikeout swinging. Down goes number 1, Indiana State. The Dogs win the marathon 10-9.
Heck of a win, man. Big time. Pronny is unbelievable. Let's go. Let's go!
No question, one of the big highlights last year for Saluki Baseball, getting the upset to start off the Missouri Valley Conference tournament after, of course, beating Belmont on that Tuesday, then beating Indiana State in what was a marathon night in Evansville. Coach Lance Rhodes and Saluki Baseball, they get back after it this weekend. Their first fall game on Saturday against Eastern Illinois, the next Sunday against Memphis at Itchy Jones Stadium. Coach, it's not like you've been up with nothing here in the fall. It's been a really busy fall for you and the team. How's life treating you, brother? How's everything going?
No, it's been a really good fall. a lot of new faces, just like a lot of people are saying throughout the country right now. And it's been fun getting to know these guys, getting to see them work. And I feel like we're just now getting to the point in the fall where our guys are kind of starting to come together a little bit. When you have so many new players, they don't really know each other at the beginning of the fall, so you got that awkwardness of walking around the locker room, walking around the playing field, trying to figure out what people's names are and things like that. I really felt like the just feeling of the guys starting to become a team, what it looks like to be a team. We're kind of in that phase now where we're starting to hit that a little bit, which is nice because being able to translate that into actually playing somebody else, it'll give us a nice view of where we're at. We've been able to play fall games now. I think this is going on like the 4th or 5th season, so they are nice. Obviously, we've won several of those. We've actually lost some of those. I don't necessarily hold tremendous stock in those games, but I do think it gives you a realistic view on how somebody's going to compete against another opponent and things like that. So it's a very good thing that we are able to play these outside teams.
Is there much that really changes, like when you get to this week, Coach Rhodes? And what I'm alluding to is you've been working with your group in the hours that you're allowed really since August when your group gets back to campus. Do you try to change anything when you know you got a game on a Saturday to look somewhat in a rhythmic routine of what it would look like come the spring?
No, I mean, for us right now, we're still in practice mode.
Yeah.
The only thing that we'll do different this week is our Friday will be a lighter day. We'll probably go in there, take some BP, some ground ball work and things like that, and kind of call it a day. So, because Saturday's different where we're playing 16 straight innings, which typically you would never play that many innings in a row. So it's a long day. It taxes the body. And a lot of our guys will play a large majority of those innings. So, other than Friday, we're still in practice mode. We're about getting better in the fall and then kind of take it easy on Friday, get ready for Saturday.
It's always a process when you wrap up the year. Like last year, you go through, of course, you meet with all your players, and then you find out, okay, this group leaving, this group coming back. What ultimately, when you knew who was coming back to your roster, what were the main point of emphasis for you and your staff? You're like, this is where we got to get better. These are areas where this summer we got to go target.
Yeah, I mean, I think always on the mound, your number one priority is, you feel like you got to be really good on the mound to compete. And I think you look at the best teams in our league the last several years, they've had a starting rotation that's been able to set up everybody else in roles that they can succeed in. And I think if you look at our team over the last couple of years where we just haven't been that team yet is we haven't had that starting rotation. And some of that had to do with some injuries and things like that. But we definitely wanted to address the pitching side of it, which we feel like, at this point, we feel pretty comfortable where we're at. And it'd be nice, again, sometimes things look different whenever you're playing another team. So it'll give us a realistic view on how competitive our pitchers look throwing against another team on Saturday, and we get to do it again next week. And so the pitching side of it was a big emphasis, and then we lost so many, position players that it was really kind of just spread out throughout the field. And the number one priority, I guess, to kind of sum it up in a quick, is we wanted more power in our lineup. So we went out, we tried to get as many physical players in our lineup as we possibly could get to try to get that home run total back up to, that 75-80 range to give us a chance to score with one swing of the bat.
When you go look for power, I know obviously you just look at raw numbers and see what guys are doing and producing, but is there an area where specifically when you go watch a guy in person, whatever the case may be, that there's a few areas that you go, yeah, this is the power, this is the type of area where I think there's potential here where we could bring this person in and be a valuable asset to our program?
Yeah, I think, the number one thing that stands out, and, you look at, Sears and all the Murray guys and everybody that had all the power. I mean, they were just big physical kids. So number one, I think we needed to get some of that physicality back to our team. That's where our lineups were great, 2 or 3 years ago when we won the league. I mean, it seemed like every guy that was running over to the plate, it just had that intimidating presence. I mean, there's something to be said when you stand in the box and you got a physical presence to you. That pitcher, he sees that hitter standing in there. It does something to your mind. You see that person, you're afraid to make a mistake, and then that causes you to make a bad pitch, and then hopefully we can hit a ball over the wall and score some runs that way. But I think we accomplished that on the offensive side. I like the way we look. We've swung the bats extremely well this fall, and I'm excited to see us. We've had really competitive inter squads, and I think that's really the only thing you can ask for when you're playing each other, because it's hard to evaluate sometimes when one side's doing well and you're wondering if you're going to hit, or you're hitting well, you're wondering if you're going to pitch. And I think it's been a good balance of competitive back and forth battles that I'm excited to kind of see us all on one side.
You think back to last year, and you see how Coach Hill and his football team going through this fall, of course, getting the injury bug at some key spots. Your team, no question, had that last spring too, Coach Rhodes. Out of those guys you lost that you're bringing back, who are some of those guys where you're like, I'm really glad we get them back, and now you're like, let's keep them healthy for the start of the year and get them through, because they can really change in not just the dynamics of where you can put them in your order, but really how you can field your team from a defensive standpoint too.
Yeah, no, I think Matt Shark is a huge example of that situation where you took Matt, who I thought was going to be in line for a really big offensive season last year. And then where we knew Matt was one of the best defensive first basemen in the league, I think when you took him out, you really saw how important that position, taking one of your best defenders out, is. And not that the players that we put there, they did as well as we could have asked them to. We didn't play a single guy at first base for the rest of the season that was a first baseman. So to get a guy like Matt Shark back, who you pretty much planned going into the season that he was going to graduate and be gone, be able to add that person back is big. Al Holguin, who threw a ton of innings for us, hopefully we get him back a full healthy season. So there's some promising guys that are going to be back, and excited that especially for Matt. I mean, for him to be able to come back and hopefully enjoy a senior season the way that we know that he probably can, that's going to be big.
And you talk about a guy with an intimidating presence, in terms of not intimidating for your team, but intimidating for your opponents. He's someone that has shown up in not just so many games just overall, but when you need that big hit, which it felt like so many times last year, Coach Rhodes, your group did about as good a job as they could to get yourselves in position to win some big games. But maybe you were that one big hit away where, gosh, it seemed like so many times it'd be like, well, this is the part of the order where Shark would be coming up in the game.
Yeah, I think last year where the struggle was to stay in games or to win a game, we would have to have such long innings to score one or two. And we would do that, and then all of a sudden a team would come up and it would be a base hit, a walk, boom, 3-run home run, and it's either they take the lead or they're right back there on us again. And we constantly had that battle of just taking so long to score so many runs. Now, we still want to be able to grind pitching staffs away, but we also want to be able to swing the bat one time and get those runs like we had in the past. So I think that was the biggest challenge for us is to get that power back in our order. And, I think just looking at it on paper, we got to go out and do it, obviously. But I think we're in that 70 to 85 home run range if everybody does what we're capable of doing.
Last year, Coach Rhodes, at the end of the year, your best arms pitched their best. And we saw that in the tournament with Fuller, Dermody, Prawn. I know all those guys are now gone. And you hinted at there's been some positives that you've seen this fall with the staff and the guys that you've brought in. What are some of those positives that you've seen in the ability to not just have, those core guys, which you always want those core, but to truly feel like we can have some depth pieces here to our bullpen?
Yeah, I think, when you just kind of crunch our numbers, we've thrown 95 scrimmage innings so far as a collective pitching staff, and we're about a strikeout an inning right now. We're less than a hit per inning right now, and our walk totals are about 1 every 2 innings right now. So we're in a pretty good spot. And that's taking into equation that we have 17 guys that are throwing in those innings right now. So, the reality of it is that some of those are going to throw more innings, some of those are going to throw less innings. But I think when you just look at just the raw numbers of where we're at in our fall, the numbers are where a winning team would be at. So that's all we can really go off of right now, is that we're doing what winners do. Hopefully it just translates to whenever we get into the actual season.
Well, and as you kind of alluded to, this weekend you'll be having 16 straight innings that you'll play with Eastern Illinois. You'll have Memphis the following week. What these games allow you to do as the skipper, Coach Rhodes, in terms of the flexibility. And, yeah, there's no doubt game situations you want to treat like an actual game, but you also know it's not like these games when you get to the spring. So the versatility allows you of how you can utilize guys in different roles and maybe throw guys in the situations just to see how they can react to those situations come Saturday.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that it allows us to do, one, we'll play each 8 innings with a lineup. So from the offensive side, we'll put a lineup together and play that game pretty much straight up and try to outscore the opponent and win the game by runs scored that way. But what I like that it allows us to do is you have free substitution. You can do really whatever you want in these games. But the way that we will, work it is we'll have a rotation to where every single time we take the field, you're either going to be in your primary or you're going to be in your secondary position. So it's going to allow us to see some guys against another opponent. If you're primary or shortstop, you're going to play shortstop, but, you might also roll out there in an inning. You might be playing third. You might be playing second. You might be put in another position to where, if we ever get into the spring and we have a bind, we've got to be able to see guys just like we do in inter squads.
Yeah.
We move them across the field because we got to know a combination of where we can put people if somebody gets hurt and things like that. So it allows us to have like free reign on be able to move guys around, on the positional player side and be able to see us play in game action. And, there's also a little more pressure to it. There's going to be fans in the stands or people on the hill. We're got another team. So you'll have that energy. The team in the dugout will be yelling and screaming. And so it'll be fun to see our guys play against that.
Maybe you don't spend a ton of time talking about things you necessarily can't control, which I'm getting to in my next question here, Coach Rhodes. But out of my years in the Missouri Valley Conference, which is coming close on 10 years being around the league, this may be the spring where there's the most unknown just about so many teams throughout the league, because you talk about coaching changes, but also just roster turnover within the league, maybe the biggest roster turnover we've had. Do you have a conversation? I mean, you always start with your team of a goal and aspiration of being the team that everybody wants to chase when you go into the year. But knowing there's so much unknown throughout the league, is there a conversation with your group of, guys, take every day what you do seriously, because somebody's going to take this league and run with it here in the spring. Let's make sure that we can be that team that could possibly be in that position.
Yeah, I think what I found interesting, too, is I think our league – just from our recruits that came in or transfers that came in, there's a lot of our players that knew a lot about our league. I was shocked and surprised by how, players that they knew on other teams, people that they knew had left. I think our players have a pretty good grasp on that statement of how wide open the league is, which I think is a nice feeling as a coach, that the players are in tune to what's going on and they understand that, hey, there's a really good chance that we could go out and, if we play to our capability, we got a really good chance to take this league. And not that you want a team to dismantle or anything like that, but I also think our players, like, you realize Indiana State's teams, like, they were the head of the league. Their team was really good. And, you look at that team, and now that it's all broken off, like, you look at it and there's a realistic opportunity to go out and win the league. And there's a long time between now and then. There's a lot of factors, health, but I do. I wouldn't just say it lightly and just throw it out there. But I do think if we stay healthy and our players play to the best of our ability, like, I'll be disappointed if we're not fighting for that opportunity.
It's all on Jake Carroll. So just make sure you do. Just make sure Jake feels that pressure.
Yeah,
each and every day.
We got the best trainer in the business, so I got faith in him.
No question. I know you do. Kind of just putting the finishing touches, Coach. It's always great to catch up with you. Just, ultimately, you look at how you set up these next 2 games. I mean, what's the biggest thing you just want to get out of the next 2 games? As you kind of allude to, wins, losses, not necessarily really what you're looking at. What's kind of the biggest things you want to see here as you kind of come close to wrapping up your fall?
I think the biggest thing is just one, our pitchers have competed inside the strike zone against our own hitters all fall. We just don't want to see that change whenever we face another opponent. If we compete inside the strike zone on the pitching side of it, we'll be really happy on that end of it. And then just offensively, just the way that we've grinded out, we've battled against our pitchers who I think are throwing the ball really well. If we can go in, and really it's just about competition. Like if we compete really well, I think our ability level is going to allow us to play how we want to play. But there should be a little bit different feeling inside you as a competitor with another opponent. And if we go out there and have a lot of energy and just, a lot of passion to play and compete, that's what these games are about. If you go out there and it seems like it doesn't mean a whole lot to us, and that's kind of a red flag. Like how are we really going to compete in the season and things like that. So I'll be completely disappointed if we're on that end of it, because I just don't have that vibe with our players. But I think as long as we go out and just have that competitive desire to beat an opponent, then I think we'll be just fine.
It all starts this weekend, Saturday, against Eastern Illinois, and you talk about the Hill, fans be out there. You enjoy when Saluki – it's football bye week, so it's a really good time for a lot of Saluki fans that are around Carbondale that want to see you play. There's no really other distractions. They can come out and see your team play on Saturday.
Exactly. We schedule them on certain days for a reason.
Yes.
But, yeah, no, we would love to have as many people out. I mean, I think it's going to be 75. The end of this week is going to warm back up, and bring the family out, enjoy a nice Saturday, watch us play baseball, and I know our kids would appreciate it. Just makes for a better atmosphere for us and Eastern Illinois, and it'd be awesome to see as many people out as we could get.
One last thing before I let you go, and I meant to ask about it to you earlier in your interview, but you were able to bring in Seth as your hitting coach this year. What's he added to your program and your excitement to welcome in another coach to your staff?
Yeah, I just think every coach is different. I think he's more of a technically sound hitting coach. I think he can really get into the weeds with some players. I also think he has a really good balance of he challenges guys, to a point where you can really drive somebody to try to get better with the way that he'll challenge some guys, but then love on them at the same time. I think he does a good balance of that. But I've been super pleased. I think he works extremely hard, and we've got we've got some hitters that are fun to work with. So it's enjoyable to show up every single day and see some of these guys swing the bat. So hopefully we'll produce some runs on the weekend and let people see what we can hopefully be like in the spring.
Coach Hill was talking about before he came on the show about, man, he really liked to get an opportunity to get in the batting cage again and take some hacks. Now, you remind me of someone as Coach Rhodes. I feel like you could sling the football if you were a quarterback. I feel like you have an arm that could really rocket that thing. Could Coach Rhodes be a quarterback at all back in the day?
I might have to before the season's over. But I don't think they want me out there. I'm not going to be scrambling very well.
You don't have the
I don't have the legs anymore. Yeah, I wouldn't be much of help. But no, I would have the football team out, have the coaches out. I'd love to see them swing the bat. There's people always see baseball players swing the bat, and then you get a person that's a non-baseball player and they're swinging the bat. I mean, that's some pure comedy right there. So we'd love to have them out.
Coach Rhodes, really good to see you. Glad the fall has been good to this point. Looking forward to be out there again Saturday at noon for all Saluki fans that want to come see you on Saturday. Excited to be back out on the itch on Saturday, Coach. We'll see you then.
Sounds good.
Once again, that was head coach Lance Rhodes. Join us here on our Pagliai of Carbondale, which is our Inside Saluki Athletics program. That does it for this week. We hope you enjoyed the show. We will be back again next week to preview the Indiana State Sycamores, which will be the next ball game for the Salukis. For the coach Lance Rhodes, for head coach Nick Hill, I am Luke Martin saying so long, everybody. We'll catch up with you next week.
This has been Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Pagliai of Carbondale. The preceding has been a Lear